Let's
Hey,
roll.
I'd like to start this podcast up by thanking Mark for attending Music in the Park for 38 minutes.
It was actually 48 minutes, and I was going up on stage, but the band would not stop.
This is how I was told. Mark's like, you're gonna talk to the audience, and then the guy came over and was like, dude, like if you're gonna talk, like just be cool. Like I'm like, and then Mark's like, don't make it a commercial, and then I was like, I'm out of here. So I went to Double D's naturally.
Too much direction for you?
Yeah. Hey,
true,
hey.
We're listening. It's all you.
Austin is no longer affordable.
I just bought another house 2 days ago.
The median rent is $1,875, and the median ownership cost is $3,875. That is all.
Okay. Mark buys these homes like they're a pair of Jordans. Waits for the drop. Scoops them as quick as possible.
I have 38 houses.
But it goes to the same thing as you talk about Silicon Valley.
New collector home available now.
I'm going for the drop this morning at 7.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find.
All right, guys, so here we are back. Sorry I missed last week. I was in Kokomo, Indiana.
Kokomo.
I did watch the Mustache Market Minute, which lasted about 6 minutes and 37 seconds.
Marco was moving during that time. We had a lot to go over.
So I'm back to keep it concise, hopefully within 60 seconds or less. And so I'm going to rattle off some stats here for Santa Clara County. Of course, we always talk about single-family homes and then condo townhomes. So some interesting stuff for you. 1,427 homes on the market today. That is down 24 homes from last week. Our pendings are at 745, up 13 from last week. A couple interesting things. In the last 7 days, we had 255 properties with a price reduction. Nationwide, 20% of all inventory reduced their price last month. So that's, just kind of on trend. 20% nationwide. So 1 in 5 homes had a price reduction last month. Last week, we had 24 properties fall out of escrow. And we are running about 320 pending, active and pending properties. So I say all that to say we're still running about 2 months worth of inventory, right? This is not a buyer's market. I think what's happening is sellers are freaking out, right? If you look at the last 30 days, average days on market for sold properties are 21. So it's 3 weeks, at least in June, July, that it took for a property to sell. If we look at our pendings right now, it's taken 29 days to get into contract. And then if you look at all active properties, it's taking us 38 days. So what we talk about week in, week out on this podcast, which is if your home is priced right, if it's marketed properly, you're going to have a good chance of selling it within those first 3 weeks, right? So, you just got to hang on a little bit. But what I am finding is, because all of us are looking at properties on the MLS constantly right now, when the photos aren't good, if the property's not updated, it better be a smoking price, because there's so much to choose from right now relative to last year that you just skim right over it.
Yeah, I think what sellers also need to understand, and agents, is the highest amount of activity you receive is in that first 2 weeks. That's when you have the ability to stay ahead of the market, get your property exposed to the greatest amount of eyes that are out there, but you better price it right. Because if you do miss that 2 to 3 week time period, you're old news.
Yeah. Yeah,
and you become stale really quick.
Exactly, which is why where before I think kind of the rule of thumb was give it 30 days and make a price reduction. I think now it's like 2 weeks.
And speaking of some of these agents, they've been telling me that they've been pricing aggressive because their clients are okay taking a lowball offer and running with it.
Well, we've talked about this, right? I mean, what seller is going to sell right now unless if they're motivated to sell?
Yeah.
Right? There's a life event, something happening.
But if you're going to reduce the price. Like you saw, I went from 2298 to 1998. Boom. Back, we took 18 days, but now I have 3 offers.
Right, over the 1998.
Yeah, and the other thing for sellers is keep things in perspective. I have a situation right now in Morgan Hill where we were at 145. We dropped the price. We're in the 1.3s. We got an offer right at about 1.3. So still, about 150,000 off what we were asking, and it's only been about 2.5, 3 weeks. But I reminded the seller, look, 2.5 years ago, you bought this house for $1 million. You made $250,000 in 2.5 years, right? I mean, so you got to keep things in perspective as well.
That's a great house in a super dialed neighborhood too. I was driving by and I was like, wait, that's our listing.
Yeah. How about that?
One thing that I got asked that I was going to ask you was, do we have less sales now than we did last year overall?
Significantly. I just looked at that stat from last year and the year before on my way in today. So new listings are down, pendings are down, and sales are down. And so in July, we sold 647 houses. You know, we normally average, and, you know, Mark speak to this too, anywhere from 850 to 1,000, you know, kind of depending on the year.
Yep.
And if you average it over the last, 15, 20 years, we average about 1,000 sales a month,
so
countywide.
Just less people are moving.
And you know what amazes me with that is how many agents do we have in Santa Clara County?
Like 10,000.
It's like 13,000 agents. And you've got about 12,000 sales a year among 13,000 agents.
The National Association of Realtors said 30% of agents are going to quit in the next
See ya.
year to two.
So,
Thank you.
So does that mean one out of the four of us is going to quit?
Or one of the four of us just make more
Nose
money
goes.
next year.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, Mark. So that's it for stats. What do you got?
So we've got, top 10. I always got to come to my top 10 list here. What's
the weather like in
What's the weather like in Indiana?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
No, but it's a matter of going into how the market's changing overall. And there are the top 10 states where homes are taking the longest to sell. Top 10 states. Do you want to take a guess at what?
The number one?
The number one state that takes the longest to sell.
Indiana.
I'm going to go Michigan.
You just came
that's
from
state.
Indiana.
Yeah.
State, I'm going to go with state, not city, but I'm going to go Michigan.
It's New York.
Interesting.
New York.
Because they have the high-end market.
And the high rises and all
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's coming back from the pandemic, and people don't want the communal
York.
living situation. So
Interesting.
it's 72 days for a house to go into contract.
Which isn't crazy.
Well, it's not, and that's what's so funny about, there was a time not that long ago, David, where it was 60 to 90 days to sell a house and to get into contract.
Yeah.
Right?
It was just the norm.
Right. So, I mean, if the longest time period, days on the market number, the highest days on the market number is 72
That's not
out
the
of the
end of the
entire
world.
nation. No, it's really not.
Take us through.
And then, well, take you through. All right, fine. You got Hawaii.
You couldn't
Hawaii
have
is
put
a
the
second.
thing in a spreadsheet?
Oh my gosh. Did you bring something?
No.
Okay, then you can just watch. New Jersey is number 3, 67 days. West Virginia, North Dakota, Maryland, Mississippi,
There are a lot of places that I wouldn't find
Vermont.
living too comfortable.
and Delaware.
Delaware's nice.
Delaware.
Is it?
57 days. But still, if the worst case, that's why I bring these to the table, because as you mentioned,
Perspective.
buyers, sellers are panicking and sky's falling. No, it's not. It's a correction that's happening. So if the longest amount of days on the market in the entire nation is 70, I mean, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I've gone back and listened to some of our prior podcasts just to see if our predictions have kind of been on point. And
Yep.
for the most part, I mean, they are.
Yeah.
And so kind of another prediction that I'm going to put out there is, in some cases, I think sellers in our market are panicking and we are overcorrecting low, right? And what buyers are going to have is this sweet spot of probably 6 months, where the buyers or the sellers are panicking, right? Because buyers are taking longer to purchase, rates are up, all that good stuff. They're freaking out because the house didn't sell in 7 days. We get through the next 6 months when things start to stabilize. The market's going to be it's going to be busy again. I mean, it's not going to be like we came out of, but I'm telling you, anybody that buys in the next 6 months, over the next 2.5 to 5 years, they're going to be happy that they
I
did.
100% agree. Absolutely. I mean, we are still great quality of life here. It's supply and demand. I think it's going to be a long time until we have an oversupply that meets the demand. And I think Ben and I were talking about this.
Will.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, so many
we've
people.
been there before. We've been there before.
4 million people. 3.
2,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
and a
Who's
half.
counting? But like how Ben and I were talking about the expectations of buyers right now, and holding back, and it's
Well, everything just happened so quick a couple months ago that everyone freaked out and paused. And now I feel like people are becoming more accustomed to the prices. They're becoming more accustomed to the interest rates.
But and that's where we were talking about last time. We got to be careful about our generalized statements, right? I mean, if you've got a great house in a great location, it's going to probably sell with multiple offers today. It has been. We have homes that are doing that right now.
So
But if you have those homes, that have those distractional issues, we're in an upwardly trending market. People will look past those distractions of busy streets, backing up to a freeway, transformer wires, those type of things, being close to a school. In a market like this, they're going to focus on those, and those are the homes that will see the biggest decline.
And that's why, if you go back and look at our podcast, end of April, we said it here. If you have a home on a busy street, if you have a home that has some challenges, issues you can't overcome, you need to sell right now.
Right.
So
for that exact reason.
Yeah,
what is too much? Not too much, but what was the word you said? When you have too much inventory on the market, how many houses would that be in the Bay Area?
I think a balanced market. And when I say balanced, that's where both buyers and sellers, where people are going to have contingencies and a home's going to be on the market 30, 45
both
days.
Sides have to give
right. That's probably, I would say, 35 to 4,000 homes.
Yeah.
And we're about half of that right now.
We're at 1427.
So we're not even close, people.
No, we're not.
We have 2 months of inventory.
Right.
I mean, if sellers started just saying, you know what, I'm not going to sell. And watch, our inventory is going to peak mid-August, and it's going to go down between now and the end of the year. So maybe we hit 1,600 single-family homes mid-August. It's going to trend down. By the end of the year, we're going to have 800.
So here's my prediction is I hesitate myself because we cycle, and our cycles are generally always 5 to 7 years, right? So if we've had we've been on this ride for 10 years, it makes sense that we're going to have this cycle downward, right? It's just a matter of how big of a downward hit are we going to have. I believe that we're going to be balancing out here a little bit, and come first quarter next year, it's going to be kind of on again as far as the activity.
Agreed.
I don't see that a huge amount of appreciation, but I think people are going to sit back and say, okay, the dust is settled.
Yeah.
Now let's get back out.
It was a correction that was done on purpose.
Well, in a way.
If we never raised rates, what would have happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Something had to give.
And the other thing I want to point out is how many homes, again, I know we're beating a dead horse here, but how many homes do we have on the market right now, including condos, everything in Santa Clara County?
Yeah, so everything, we're about 2,300.
Do you know how many homes, and I'm going to go back to Texas or in a standard marketplace, like a place like Austin, do you know how many homes they have on the market?
Oh.
8,000.
8,000 homes.
Nice.
8,000. Yeah, you must have done
Please
your
put
homework.
the dinger, ding, 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 ding.
Most areas, like if you go to LA, I mean, there's like 9,000 homes on the market there. Now granted the population is significantly higher, but if you go to Austin again, Austin has about 2.5 million people.
Yeah.
And they've got 8,000 homes on the market. We have about the same count, and we're sitting at less than 2,000.
But what we don't have is new construction. I mean, we have new construction, but we
limited.
don't.
Limited.
It's more like townhouse, 3-story.
Yeah, and they're smaller projects.
Yeah.
I mean, I think North 40 across the street from us here is one of the largest projects that have been out there for a while. They got 250, 300 units.
And we have a few things coming, but I think they're more apartment-based, right? Like by Santana Row.
Yep.
Yeah.
More the affordable housing, rentals, those type of things. But
North 40 is selling well.
Yeah.
From what I see.
Although they're only 50% sold, and they've been reaching out to agents now, giving incentives and everything.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Who wants to buy a North 40?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's
But
a great
you can
question.
get $1 million
The
condo
Tetris
there.
project.
You could get $1 million condo.
That's a loft.
Or you can buy a
And
house in
Moscow's.
South San Jose for $1 million.
There you go.
Or 1.1.
Yeah, you can buy the North 40 condo for 1.3, thinking you're going to go to Los Gatos High School and end up at Westmont.
But anyway, well, what other news do we have? I mean, I had one thing, unless you brought it, Mark, about Opendoor.
I have not. That
What
is
is
great.
Opendoor?
Yeah, let's talk
What
about
is
that.
Keep seeing
Opendoor?
it.
Let's talk
Yeah,
about that.
so last year, 2 years ago, iBuyer became a new terminology that we all had to be, familiarize ourselves with, and basically Zillow, Opendoor, companies like that would give you an offer on your house. Well, we know that Zillow got out of that business, right? Because they weren't able to kind of forecast pricing, and the models didn't work out for them. So they laid off that division. They stopped buying houses and got rid of the ones that they had. Well, Opendoor was a similar company where they would say, hey, we'll give you a price for your home. Well, what happened was there was anywhere between 8 to 11% in fees added on top of that price. So there was a class action lawsuit, and they awarded the plaintiff $63 million because basically abuse of overcharging,
Yep.
right? So when people talk about real estate agent commissions, when you look at what we charge relative to what Opendoor was doing for these people, it really shows the value that we bring, because we were able to get them more money for their houses, and the cost was less overall. So again, another company that took advantage of folks, seemingly, hey, we'll make it simple, we'll buy your house, but then they padded the fees, and now they're paying the price.
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll do it too. We'll buy their house.
And they've pulled out of many markets.
But they
already,
just
so
started
it's-
coming back. I've been seeing their name all over.
Yeah, they're trying now, but what I can tell you is in a down market, they're just another investor, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to give you they're not going to give
You're
you
not
market
going to
value.
maximize, yeah.
Right.
They're not going to give you market value, whereas a experienced real estate agent can walk through a property and tell you, hey, if we fix this up, if we paint these walls, if we put down this sod, if we remodel these bathrooms, we're going to get. I was in a listing presentation with Aaron once.
Thank you. I know where this is going.
Yeah. And Aaron said something that really resonated with me, and I was like, oh, if I was a consumer, that would make me want to list with you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially Aaron said, for every $1 of yours we invest, I'm going to get you $5 to $10 back.
It's a bold statement.
It is. Bold statement,
but we're not
Cotton.
going to spend money on something that has no return.
Right, and
we're
that
not
was his
gonna
point,
recommend.
right? And it, and as Aaron walked through that property and gave really insightful thoughts about what that client could do to prepare their home for sale. I mean, minimal cost, maximum return on investment. So, Opendoor, those fly-by-night folks, the commercials you see, I buy ugly houses, all that stuff.
Right.
They just want that margin, right? And in a downward market, they're not going to give you market value for your home.
No, and that's also the concern now in a downward market too, is what do we do to these properties to make them presentable, right? And eliminate, I say eliminate distractions, right? If you've got something where you walk into a property that a buyer's going to over-exaggerate the cost to take care of, or there's a smell issue, those type of things, deal with those. But I'm always concerned or always focused on ensuring that we're mitigating the amount of money to maximize the return, as you just said. And there's also the fact of potentially missing the market. I mean, if you got to take a home to where it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to renovate that property,
right?
I mean, where's the market going to be at that time, right? Compared to knowing where we're at today, fix it up, eliminate distractions, put it on the out there.
Which
and
is
get the highest
why
money
most of the properties
possible.
that we turn around for our clients are done in about 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we spend them pretty quick.
So one thing that I think has really changed, that I've seen anyways, is previously, we can all attest, most of the time we would get property inspection, termite inspection, and roof inspection, but our sellers, generally speaking, unless it was a huge blaring red flag, wouldn't fix anything.
Right.
Now, working with a lot of buyers, we've seen a lot of listing agents tell their clients, hey, let's get XYZ done before we go on the market so that the buyers are worry-free.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
I
at
think-
least give it as an incentive to have it done before closing.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point with this, if you're selling right now, you have to acknowledge it could be a challenging market. All you can do is make sure you're the best priced property out there in the best condition, right?
Yeah.
And as we see incentives being offered out there, I think it'd be great going back to having Section 1 clearance on a property,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of times it doesn't take much to get there.
Correct.
I mean, the average home in Santa Clara County is around $3,500 in Section 1 repairs. That could be a fumigation and maybe a floor in a bathroom or something.
Right.
You might want to consider doing those things now.
But I do have something to say.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I
Let's
will not
listen.
attack any company in this statement. But
Been there, done that. I don't like that call again.
a lot of agents are using companies for their inspections that are the easiest to get a hold of, that have the best availability, and sometimes they're not the best company.
Fair enough.
So this just recently happened. We had property roof and termite report done by this one company that did all three, and some of the figures that they estimated came back very high.
Yes.
So I went to another company that specializes in only property inspections, went to another company that only has roof inspections, and then I went to another company that only does termite inspections. And that the biggest one was the termite inspection. The original company said $14,000, the new company said $1,200.
Wow.
Well, that's a discrepancy
there's
in
something.
inspections
However,
opinions.
God, you can never justify anything for me, Mark. My point is, sometimes you use the easiest, best company, but it's not the worst thing in the world to ask for your own inspections if you're seeing something that doesn't make sense, if you're the buyer in this
Listen,
current market.
I think we need to go back to where, listen, with the way the market's been in the last 2 years, we want to provide as much information to the buyer to where they're educated buyer to write the best offer possible, right? Because they're competing and we need to move things pretty quickly.
Yeah.
In a market like this, I still recommend the seller should always get those inspections so they know about issues before a buyer brings them up to them, right? And they put it out there. But I do think it's very wise, and we've gotten out of this habit, let the buyer do the backup inspections on it without a doubt.
Yeah.
But my point is, as a listing agent, it's your job to say, hey, this doesn't look right. Let's get another inspection.
Well, and I was just going to bring that
Yes.
up, and I'm glad you did. There's nothing wrong with the seller getting 2 inspections.
Absolutely.
Right? Because then, again, you can look at, well, this inspector called this out, this guy did not. So get those guys talking and figure out what the truth is. And I've seen inspectors make a claim that wasn't even true, like disconnected HVAC, right? We went up there, it wasn't disconnected, it was just some leftover.
Right.
You know, so those types of things.
That goes back to what our team does, right? I mean, you've got so much experience on this team from, you know, we do spec homes. We know a lot about the construction business. We review those inspections where it doesn't matter who you work with, right? I mean, we'll look at those inspections.
It matters who you work with, just not on our team. You can work with
any of it.
Absolutely. Because
the team you work with matters, right?
Well, that's true, though, because we'll see red flags in there and ask for those additional inspections. Or, I mean, one of the things I know when I have my sellers say, listen, we're going to get these reports. A termite company by nature is going to bid it high. It's just what they do. Yeah. I will hardly ever have a termite company actually do the repairs unless if it's fumigation, something like that, because I know I can have our GC get in there and he'll shave 20-30% off of those repair costs. So again, it's a matter of diving into those reports, knowing what they look at, instead of having a buyer who's going to come in and negotiate with you, expose a red flag that you didn't see.
And then I have a new thing that we're doing in the podcast. You have top 10, you have market minute. Mine will be tip of the day.
Okay.
All right. This is our first tip of the day.
Okay.
This is for sellers.
Okay.
And it is, should I disclose? The question is, should I disclose that I have a rat problem in my backyard? Should I disclose that I have a squirrel problem? And the answer is yes. If you were a buyer and the seller didn't disclose it to you, would you be upset? That's kind of the question you have to ask yourself.
Yes.
And you should always over-disclose, never under-disclose.
100% correct.
You'll avoid lawsuits, and you'll be in a much better place. That is your
I'm proud of you.
real estate tip of the day.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah, I do love that, right? It's the same thing when an agent comes to us or a seller. Should I disclose this? Well, if you got to ask that question,
you probably
yes,
should.
Right?
Yeah. Did I have a death in the home? Well, it was 8 years ago. So
there's a famous story about that happened right up in here in Mount Hermon, where there was this famous murder that had happened years ago. House goes on the market, and sure enough, the agent advises the seller it's beyond the 3-year time period. Don't worry about it. Doesn't disclose it. What's the first thing that happens when that person moves into the house?
Neighbors walk over.
100%.
Yo, you bought the murder house.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure enough, non-disclosure issue, huge lawsuit filed. The agent, brokerage, and the seller lost their rear ends on that property.
They answered the question, but just answer it the way that's going to make you sleep at night with the full integrity.
Well, but that was, even though it fell outside the 3 years, that is a material fact.
Absolutely.
Like, it wasn't like grandma passed away 20 years ago.
Right, in her sleep at 102 years old.
I'm okay, you don't want to disclose that.
Right.
But, 8 years ago, if there was a violent crime at that property, you should disclose.
But to your point, you got to worry. Listen, the neighbors are going to tell everybody, or tell their new homeowner everything and more. So to your point, listen, you got to think about would you want to know this information?
The state of California has put together with the California Association of Realtors several questions that, do a really good job of breaking everything down. But if it doesn't ask the specific question and it's a material fact, meaning it's factual, just disclose it.
Yeah, there's a whole section for other items to disclose.
Right.
You just fill in, but certainly consult with your realtor and maybe even sometimes an attorney. Just to be sure, because we're not allowed to give legal advice.
100%.
And that wasn't legal advice, just the tip of the day.
Just the tip of the day.
There you go.
Ben, what do you got?
I got a lot of buyers who are now back in the market after a long summer of being absent. We had a very successful dumpster day on Sunday.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we had about 104 families that we helped and have donated items to. Aaron came by to help for a little bit as well. Nice. I felt like it was not only great to get people involved in cleaning out their house, but we had a point in time where we had neighbors just socializing and catching up from a year of being away from each other. So I think it was a solid neighborhood event, and I appreciate all the support from our viewers that showed up.
Fantastic.
Awesome. And we'll be doing that here at our wonderful parking lot at Keller Williams here soon too, right?
That's Mark's idea.
Absolutely. Keep them going.
LG.
Ben bought the entire donut store and had coffee and had the whole works.
Manly's Donuts.
Donuts.
Shout out to Manly's.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, listen, summer fun continues with all of our wonderful events. We got our movie night here coming up with Brad Pitt.
I've been seeing it all over all over the commercials.
Yeah.
And we see it before everyone else.
Absolutely, one day ahead of time, which I think we're almost full, but if anybody wants to
We got a
join
couple
in, let
tickets
us
left.
know.
I think 10 or less.
Otherwise, meet us on the next one. We've got jazz in the plans for a few more weeks and music in the park every Sunday night. So come out and see us.
Reach out. You know, those two events are free, obviously, to show up, but if you want the VIP treatment,
That's right.
We have tickets and access to the VIP lounge and the hospitality suite at those two places. So holla.
Absolutely. And as always, if you ever need any real estate advice
Oh, yeah.
or any
We
needs,
sell houses,
there
too.
you go.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Mark, anything you want to add before we all leave?
Anything you want to throw in there and we can retape it?
We have breaking news.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty well. How's it going with you?
Good. Hey, I just wanted to let you know I got the contract back and you have a new house.
Whoa. Hey, hon.
Congratulations, Mom and Dad.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Right, and great work, Aaron.
You guys did a wonderful job. You're really professionals all the way. Thank you.
Did, yeah, like 48 hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad don't mess around.